Hi, I'm Mark from Cyclops Workout, and I'm here today with Brandon from Snap Fitness, Southampton-Nursling. Brandon, thanks so much for joining us today. Now that you have access to some usage data across the floor, what are some of the takeaways in terms of how members use the space looking at this data?
Yeah, so I think in terms of our usage in the club, it's quite interesting to see what equipment is used in the gym through actual data, as opposed to my perception on what I see going on.
As you would know, the peak period is typically in the evenings, but looking at that evening shift kind of after the 6 or 7 p.m. rush hour, what takeaway do you have currently, and how would you potentially change your shifts based on that later rush, if you want to call it that?
Yeah, well, I think it's quite interesting to see the split of the timeline in terms of what equipment's used when. You would assume the gym would sort of quieten down about 6:30, maybe 7:15, but you can see sort of carrying on into 8, just gone 8, we've actually still got a higher level of usage. And you can see again the specific bits of equipment we want. So I think in terms of staffing side of things, if you know that the gym has got more occupancy at specific times, I could look at putting maybe another PT on a later shift or an early morning shift.
I was going to ask, how do you typically find out from members what machine to purchase next, or which machines members may be queuing for, and that sort of thing? How would you typically do that before having data like this?
Yeah, so it's going to be based off obviously what I would normally see in the gym, my interaction with members, talking to people. Members will come up to me, give me feedback, hey, can we get this bit of kit? I can't get onto this bit of kit during peak hours. So I think obviously you have that interaction with your customer base, but then I can now see, like I say, with the leg extension, that wasn't a bit of kit that generally is brought to my attention, or that I'd seen or felt that there was people waiting to use it, unlike the cables where you see people. So actually being able to see that data, I now know that members are wanting to use the leg extension, and I can see the data for that. So it takes away that guesswork of what I see and what the member actually lets me know.
Brandon, can you take me through how you would typically check on cable wear and when you aim to replace cables, and what that currently looks like?
Yeah, so we do our walk arounds. I'll do visual checks of the gym, check the equipment's safe to use. If there's any issues I see, then I can log them. But at the moment, it's all done on a visual check. Being able to see the data on how many repetitions, how much weight's been lifted. If I can see that data, then I know whether a piece of equipment, a cable loaded equipment, whether that cable's going to be on its way out, or whether it might have stretch in the cable. If I know that, I then know that perhaps we need to look at replacing something. You don't want a cable to snap or members using it when they're training, because obviously it could influence out. So I think if you can see when that's possibly coming towards the end of its life before it actually snaps, prevent injury. You could also prevent downtime of equipment.
Gyms often focus on retention, but part of that retention is actually having people that care about who's coming through their door, and often find by spending that extra little bit of time to get to know someone, to strip everything back to simplest form so that they can make these little improvements, that's going to help massively with your retention.